Today, Saudi Arabia stands as one of the wealthiest and most powerful nations in the Middle East. But just a century ago, it didn't even exist on the map. So how did a land of warring desert tribes scattered and impoverished become a kingdom controlling Islam's holiest cities and sitting on vast oceans of oil? This is a story of brutal wars, secret deals, broken promises, and one relentless desert warrior who would change the course of history. To understand how Saudi Arabia came into being, we have to rewind all the way back to the early 1500s. In 1516–17, the Ottoman Empire defeated the Mamluks in a decisive battle known as the Ottoman-Mamluk War. The Mamluk Sultan at the time, Al-Ashraf Kansu al-Ghuri, lost not only the war but his empire. After this victory, the Ottomans took control of the Hejaz region, what is now Western Saudi Arabia, home to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. This was during the reign of Sultan Selim I, who, after this conquest, declared himself the Caliph of all Muslims. Historically, the area we now call Saudi Arabia was divided into 5 distinct regions. Along the Red Sea was the Hejaz with Mecca and Medina. In the central part of the Arabian Peninsula was Najd, where modern-day Riyadh, the Saudi capital, is located. Najd would later become the launching point for the modern Saudi state. In the east, along the Persian Gulf, lay Al-Hasa, a region rich in resources where oil, the so-called black gold, was discovered in 1938. In the north was the Hahil region, and in the south was the mountainous territory of Assyria. But the real question is, how did all of this become the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? To find that answer, we have to jump to the 18th century. In 1744, a tribal chief from Najd named Muhammad bin Saud joined forces with a religious leader named Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abd al. Together, they founded what's known as the First Saudi State, or the Emirate of Diriyaniya, present-day Riyadh. Under this partnership, the Al Saud family controlled political affairs, while Sheikh Wahab led the religious ideology based on what we now call Wahhabism. Their mission was clear: expand the state and rid the region of Ottoman influence, and they made significant progress. By 1804, they had taken control of Medina, and shortly afterward, Mecca as well. At that time, these holy cities were ruled by the Hashemite clan, loyal to the Ottomans. So when the Saudis kicked them out, the Ottomans took it personally. Sultan Mustafa but sent Muhammad Ali Pasha, the powerful governor of Egypt, to reclaim the Hejaz. Ali Pasha's sons led a military campaign, and, by 1812, had taken back Mecca and Medina. After restoring Hashemite control in the region, Muhammad Ali's son, Ibrahim Pasha, launched a full-scale assault on the Saudi heartland. He crushed the first Saudi state and captured the Saudi leader, Abdullah bin Saud. He was taken to Istanbul, then Constantinople, and executed publicly. The Ottomans maintained a military presence in Najd for a while, but minor clashes with Saudi loyalists continued. In 1823, a new Saudi leader, Turki bin Abdullah, established the second Saudi state, the Emirate of Najd, but a new enemy soon appeared: the Al-Rashid dynasty of Ha'il. Throughout the 19th century, the Saudis and the Rashidis fought repeatedly for control. While the Saudis symbolically accepted Ottoman rule, they avoided another direct confrontation over the Hejaz. They also knew Britain, which had friendly ties with the Ottomans, would not support them in such a conflict. Turki bin Abdullah's successor, Faisal bin Turki, was a skilled diplomat who strengthened the Saudi state. But after his death in 1865, things began to fall apart. The Rashidis grew stronger, and in 1891 captured Riyadh, effectively ending the second Saudi state. The Al Saud family was forced into exile, with many relocating to Kuwait, including Abdul Rahman bin Faisal and his son Abdulaziz, later known as Ibn Saud, was not content with exile. In 1902, at the age of just 26, he launched a daring raid on Riyadh with a small band of fighters, killed the Rashidi governor, and recaptured the city. This was the beginning of his long campaign to re-establish Saudi rule. By the time World War I broke out, Ibn Saud had already captured the Al-Hasa region. One of the key elements in his military success was his alliance with the tribal militia, known as the Equanimmatic Desert Warriors, who were tough, mobile, and fiercely loyal. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire aligned itself with the Central Powers, drawing the ire of Britain and its allies in search of reliable partners across the Arab world. The British saw great potential in Abdulaziz Ibn Saud, who was steadily expanding his control over the Arabian Peninsula. Britain extended its support to him, primarily in the form of weapons, supplies, and diplomatic backing, particularly as he waged war against his long-standing rivals, the House of Rashid. However, this support came with conditions. In return, Ibn Saud was asked not to interfere in regions under direct or indirect British influence, namely Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. Now here's where things get especially interesting. While much of the Arab world was rising up against Ottoman rule in what became known as the Arab Revolt, the Saudis stayed completely out of it. They did not participate in the rebellion against the Ottomans, despite having long-standing tensions with them and challenging their religious authority. Instead, The revolt was spearheaded by the Hashemites, especially Sharif Hussein of Mecca, and his sons, who were ironically Ottoman appointed custodians of Islam's holiest sites. That was these Hashemites, not the Saudis, who openly broke ranks with the Ottoman Caliphate. Backed by the British and buoyed by promises of a unified Arab state after the war, they launched a widespread insurgency across the region. This is also where the legendary figure T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, enters a historical stage. He played a key role in coordinating British efforts with the Hashemite forces. But contrary to popular belief, Lawrence never met or collaborated with the House of Saud. His mission was entirely centered on the Hashemites, and once the war ended, he returned to Britain, having played no direct role in the future formation of Saudi Arabia. After the Ottoman Empire collapsed, the Hashemites were rewarded with new kingdoms. Sharif Hussein's sons were made kings of Iraq and Jordan. In fact, Jordan's current royal family is descended from them. Iraq's Hashemite monarchy lasted until 1958. By this time, Hejaz was under Hashemite control, while Najd and Al-Hassa were ruled by the Saudis. Both powers wanted to unite the Arabian Peninsula under their rule. In 1920, Ibn Saud captured the Asir region, and by 1921, he had defeated the Rashidis, bringing almost all of central and northern Arabia under his control. But Hejaz remained a challenge. Since the Hashemites had supported the British in World War I, Ibn Saud couldn't simply attack without risking a British backlash. To avoid this, Prince Faisal bin Abdulaziz, later king, visited Britain in 1919 and convinced them to stay neutral in any conflict between the Saudis and the Hashemites. Britain agreed, and by 1925, Ibn Saud had conquered the Hejaz as well. In 1926, he declared himself ruler of Hejaz. For the next 6 years he ruled Najd and Hejaz as two separate kingdoms. Finally, in 1932, he united them into a single state, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. But the unification didn't mean an end to territorial challenges. In the south, Saudi Arabia soon faced conflict with neighboring Yemen. The newly formed kingdom had taken control of the Asir region in the 1920s, which the Yemeni Zaidi Imamate also claimed. Tensions escalated into the brief Saudi-Yemeni War of 1934. The conflict ended with a treaty that confirmed Saudi control over Asir and established a formal border between the two nations, securing the kingdom's southern frontier. At first, the country was poor and mostly desert. But everything changed in 1938 when oil was discovered in the Al-Hassa region. That discovery turned Saudi Arabia into a global economic powerhouse, and the rest, as they say, is history. From tribal skirmishes to global oil diplomacy, the rise of Saudi Arabia is a story of strategy, survival, and ambition. Ibn Saud's kingdom didn't just unite a land, it reshaped the entire Middle East. Today, Saudi Arabia is not just a nation, it's a geopolitical powerhouse. And as the world changes, the roots of its power still trace back to those desert campaigns a century ago. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden layers of global history. Until next time, stay curious.